Hey everyone, welcome to today's episode covering OpenAI's Agent Builder. A couple of days ago, OpenAI did a mega launch of several new products, and one of the biggest things is called the Agent Builder. On the one hand, some people are saying that this is the N8N killer, and on the other hand, you have some people saying that it's not actually very good. In my opinion, Agent Builder is not quite the N8 killer, at least not yet. But what it is, funnily enough, is actually more of a Google Agent Development Kit killer. In today's tutorial, I'll be showing you how to create your very own RAG agent using the Agent Builder. And as a quick demonstration of what you can actually do, I created this RAG agent that's been trained on all the transcripts of every single one of my YouTube tutorials. And so I can say, can Claude Code be used for anything other than coding? And as you can see here, this agent is able to reason by looking through my entire corpus of transcripts for all my YouTube videos. It was able to identify the correct video that you see over here. So another thing I can ask here is, what is the best practice for using sub-agents? And the great thing about Agent Builder is it provides you with a really easy way to automatically generate these kind of interfaces where you can actually see the thinking and reasoning step behind your model, create structured output for the responses, as you can see with the JSON over here. And not only that, you can then choose how you want to render the response in a custom widget that you see over here. Agent Builder includes a full suite of tools for debugging where you can actually see everything that the user has input, the system instructions, and all of the different responses to the user. And I can safely tell you this, for anyone to build something like this, it will take you at least a week, if not several days. But with Agent Builder, you can get this up and running in literally a couple of minutes. Now, before we jump right in, keeping up with the latest AI news, as well as knowing practical ways and lessons of how to utilize everything that's going on is quite difficult. And that's the reason why you might want to consider subscribing to my AI-oriented Insiders Club. I share regular updates on all the latest news that's going on, lesson plans for every single video that I've released, along with various resources such as source code and configurations with each video tutorial. And if you want to take things a step further and you want to get started and up and running faster than ever, you might want to check out one of my builder packs. This is a complete workflow toolkit containing the full source code for agent definitions, configurations, commands, as well as the applications that I built for every single one of my video tutorials. So if you want to level up in your AI journey, you would definitely want to check out the links in the description below. And without further ado, let's get started. All right, the way you access Agent Builder is that you just go to this URL over here. So we're going to create a new workflow over here today, and you can see it just starts off with this very simple template. So what we're going to do is that we're going to call this the AI-oriented transcript agent. Over here, the instructions that I'm going to give are, you are a knowledgeable agent who has deep knowledge about my YouTube channel, especially around Claude Code, Codex, and Google's ADK. And then I ask it to provide answers to questions posed about anything about the tutorials. I also tell it to provide some information related to the video, such as the thumbnail and the link to it, so that we have the information should we choose to display it to the user as well. All right. The next thing that you want to do here is that you want to provide the information, in this case, the transcripts, for it to be able to search on top. So this is where we will build something called a RAG, or Retrieval Augmented Generation. You probably have heard about this, and the very simplest way of thinking is that it's the best way for you to utilize an AI model that has context over a corpus or library of information and knowledge such that it's able to answer questions about it, and you don't have to do any form of training on top of that data. And that's the beauty about RAG. You can just take the model that you have, and then it will have the context from your data source already. So the way that you do so is super simple. You click on here, next to tools, and go to file search. All right. And the next thing that you want to do is that you can actually upload the files over here, but the better way to do it is to use something called a vector store. Now, a vector store just provides a way for it to very quickly identify related documents, especially when you have a large library of documentation, large library of files that you want to look over. So rather than uploading it here, we just click select vector store, and over here, it will ask you for your vector store ID. And the beauty about how OpenAI does things is that it's just very, very simple. So click on vector stores over here. This should open up within the OpenAI platform under storage. And you can see I've already got a couple of them here, but let me just show it to you step by step so you can actually see how this is done. You click on create, and then you just name this vector store, which I'm going to call it AI-oriented video transcripts with metadata. Okay. And then after that, I'm just going to say add files. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select every single file that we have over here, which contains the transcripts as well as the information about the YouTube video that it pertains to. Okay, so I'm just going to attach them all over here. And there you have it. Now it's created a vector store. So what you want to do here is just copy this ID that you see, hop back into Agent Builder, and just pop it in over here. And you can see this character selected it here. So you just click on select. Now, once you've done it here, you can actually begin to ask it questions. So let's just try a preview here. I'll be saying something like, tell me about what Claude Code status lines are. And this is the great thing about Agent Builder. You already have an inbuilt chat interface to test the state of your agents, and it already has a very nice UI showing you the reasoning steps of what's going on when this agent is thinking, because we are using a GPT-5 model. And then after that, you can see here it says Claude Code status lines are a built-in way to display live contextual information at the bottom of your Claude Code terminal session. So this is really good, right? If you scroll down, you can actually see which sources that it looked through. So it looked through all of the different Claude sources. And then after that, it tells you the most relevant AI-oriented video. And it actually has a thumbnail, which I can show you over here. And then the link to the URL. All I did say is that you will provide the link to the video, title and thumbnail based on the YouTube URL. It was able to know how to extract the thumbnail from the YouTube URL. I didn't actually have to provide it. And that's the beauty of using something like an AI agent rather than you having to handcraft it manually. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do here is that I'm going to showcase to you something called Guardrails. So Guardrails are a way to prevent your application or your agent from accidentally leaking information. So for example, you might want to prevent it from leaking out the PII or personally identifiable information, such as IP addresses, credit cards, bank numbers, or anything related to that. There are a lot of different other guardrails that you can put in place. But what we're going to do right now is that I'm going to show you how to use Rails in the most simplest sense, which is just preventing hallucinations. So what does this exactly mean? So let's actually take a look here. So I'm going to just turn hallucinations on, and then I'm going to paste in the vector store that I had from earlier. All right. And you can use any model here. I'm just going to use 5 mini, which is the latest but smaller version of GPT-5. And I'm just going to add it over here. And the way that you deal with this is that if a user asks a question that is irrelevant to your data, you don't want the agent to hallucinate and give an answer that is irrelevant or worse still, incorrect. So the way that you do it is that first of all, you hook up your agent to the guardrail, and then subsequently you can actually add 2 more agents to handle the pass and fail state. We'll call this one the safe agent, and we'll call this the guarded agent. Okay, let's deal with the fail state here. So if it fails the test, right, what we want to do is that this is the recommended way that you want to do it. You can say the original query from the user was, and then you can actually click on this add context here, and then you can select the different context based on the preceding nodes that you have over here. So you can actually do input as text, which is the original query from the user. And then after that, you can say the reason for the rejection is because, and then you can add more context over here. So you can actually say hallucination type here. All right, and you can then add in the rationale for the failure. Okay, and yeah, I mean, like the only thing about this is that there's not a lot of space for you to put in the input that you see over here, but that doesn't matter. All right, so this should actually help us. So let me just show you right. So like right over here. So if we say something like, tell me about what color t-shirt Chong-U likes to wear. All right, so here's a question that I'm pretty sure that doesn't exist within the corpus of information that we have over here. So you can see the reasoning. So it's starting to look through and try to figure out, what t-shirt does he wear, etc., etc. But because we're looking at transcript, and I'm pretty sure I've never ever mentioned what color t-shirt that I wear, this should actually cause the guardrail to catch this. And you can see that it wasn't able to find any mention of my t-shirt color, but now it's actually going to the guardrail to see whether or not this response actually reflects a violation of the guardrail. So in this case, I would expect the guardrail to fail. Okay, so we actually encountered an error in the guardrail over here. And don't forget the agent builder is very new, so oftentimes things might fail. So if that ever happens, you can just go ahead and kick off the run again. All right, and you can see over here, I actually had to quickly switch this model from GPT-5 mini into GPT 4.1 mini in order to get this to work. So if you ever encounter any errors and the restart doesn't seem to work, you can always just try to change the model. All right, so you can see here the guardrail has failed, and it gives you a reasoning, right? The user asked about the color of a t-shirt, but then he actually says that there's an unsupported claim. It shows you that the guardrail has failed, and then it gives you the agent's response over here. Okay, so now that you know how to catch when these things happen to protect your agent, let's show you how to actually deal with the correct response. So when you have a pass over here, what you can do is that you can say the user's query was, and then you can actually put the input and the response that is given is, and then you can actually provide the safe text over here. And because you can actually put in the chat history, you probably do not need to explicitly lay out what the user's query. But in this case, we're just going to do it so that we can ensure that it knows what's going on. And now we can try something like, what does Chong-U recommend as the best way to use sub-agents in Claude Code? All right, so it's going to kick off the reasoning right now, so you can actually see it as it steps through. So you can see it's going to search through all the different files based on its reasoning. And here you can see how quick it is, right? It says recommended pattern is to use a single orchestrator that coordinates a small set of specialized sub-agents in 2 phases. And if you've seen my past few videos where I cover sub-agent architecture, you know that this is true. The other thing is to always separate things out into a design research phase and then have a implementation phase, which is also spot on. So this is why having a RAG agent is really, really good. Not only is it accurate, but it's also very fast. And as you can see here, Agent Builder makes it super simple to create something like this. Okay, so now you see it over here. It's actually given the answer. So you can see Chong-U recommends using a single orchestrator agent with a small set of sub-agents. So you can see the reasoning as well as the response that you get over here. Like, that's how easy it is for you to create a RAG agent. Not forgetting that we actually created a vector store, we had a place to store it, we have a RAG search on top of it, and we actually have a nice interface. And speaking of nice interfaces, it's all well and good to have this running within the preview over here, but wouldn't you like to get this chat UI within your very own application? And I'll show you that it's actually super simple to do. So the first thing that you want to do is click on Publish and name this workflow that you have over here. So I'm going to call it AI-oriented video RAG agent. Okay, and I'm going to publish it over here. And once you've published this, what you will get is something called a workflow ID, which you can copy over here. The next thing you want to do is to head on over to this repository that you see over here, and I've added the link in the description below. This is provided by OpenAI, and it's basically a starter app with Next.js that allows you to integrate your agents into your application. So let me just show you how this works over here. So I'm going to copy this to clipboard. So I'm just going to clone the application right now. Okay, and once this is done, we're going to open this up in Visual Studio Code. And what you see here is that all you have to do is just go into the folder, do npm install, so that it installs all the dependencies that it wants. And while this is installing, the only thing that you need to do is that look at this env example file over here, make a copy, rename this to local, all right? And the only 2 things that you need to put in over here are your OpenAI key as well as the workflow ID that we saw from before. So I'm just going to pop in a OpenAI key that I have over here and then hop back into my agent builder, click on code at the top and copy this workflow. And then now I'm going to jump back in here and then pop this here as well. Once that's done, you can run npm run dev. And let's just open this up in the browser that we see over here. And so now we can say the same thing, like, tell me about status lines. All we needed to do was just put in that workflow ID as well as our OpenAI key. And now you have it. You actually have the entire agent embedded within a Next.js application right over here. And you can see it even has the nice UI that it gives you the thinking and reasoning step. And then over here, it gives you the answer based on the RAG agent that we've already built within Agent Builder itself. This is really cool. It's because it looks through all of this and then it gives you the most relevant video from my video series that you see over here, where there's a title, the link, and the thumbnail. And check it out, because it's able to look through the entire transcript, it's able to give you citations about the different things that were mentioned in the video. And you can see the sources that it was able to take in order to give you this response. So there you have it, right? Ready to go. You have your agent in the backend with a nice visual interface as well as a front-end interface in Next.js. And this is the reason why I said that it may not be an NAN killer, and especially not yet, but it's definitely going to give Google ADK a run for its money. And you will know that I've done an entire series on Google's Agent Development Kit and how powerful it is. And I think OpenAI has now just come for Google's lunch in this space, because it's not only made it a lot easier to create agents, it's not only made it much easier to create agents and to wire things up, such as having guardrails, a RAG, and many other of the features, but it's also made it very simple to integrate within your application itself. Now, one final thing that I wanted to mention is that OpenAI is not just building things in isolation. It has an entire suite of tools within its ecosystem as well. If you recall earlier in the video, it wasn't just text as a response, but I was actually able to display the video URL as well. So let's take a look at how we'll be able to do this over here. All right, so one of the things that I'm going to do here is that I'm going to change this from giving out text to JSON, okay? And the idea here is that I want to be able to then give not just a response, the answer, but also a thumbnail for the video as well. And the way that you do it is to add a schema. And the best thing about this is that you don't actually have to know coding or anything in that way. You can actually use this generate button over here and say the model should respond with its answer, but also a thumbnail image of the YouTube video that can be embedded. Okay, and I'm just going to click on create. And so this is going to think for a while, and then it's actually going to generate the JSON response schema for you. So you can see here, there's answer, and then there's thumbnail URL. So that's it. All right, so now this is actually going to give things to you in JSON, but rather than showing it to you right away, I'm actually going to finish up with the final agent, which is called final response agent. And I'm going to take in the context of the input, which is from the save agent's output. All right, so I'm going to say the answer is, and the thumbnail is, and I'm going to put it over here. And then showcase the answer and thumb to the user. Okay, and then over here, I'm going to change this from text to something called widget. Okay, this is where things get really crazy. You are going to be able to create your own custom widget just with a couple of lines. So you click on widget over here and click on create. This will bring you to widget builder. And I'm going to say, create a sleek, modern, simple widget that has space for a YouTube thumbnail and a body of text for the agent. And then I'm going to let this generate, and this will just kick off a process in which it will actually create the UI element for you. You're able to wire everything up together from the agent builder into this widget builder, which is from ChatKit, which is also another thing that OpenAI has released. And as you will see very shortly, it all just works seamlessly together. All right, it has this preview of it has actually created a preview over here where this is where the thumbnail URL will be. And then there'll be the agent response over here. If you actually look down at the bottom, this is the required schema that it's going to need in order to display things correctly. All right, so I'm just going to click download over here, and then I'm going to call YouTube reply card. And then when you just pop back into Agent Builder, click on upload, and then switch over and select it, which is called the YouTube reply card. Okay, you can see a preview of how it's going to look like. That looks right. And then because this is the schema that is going to be required, so you can actually see the code over here. So it's going to be thumbnail URL and a response tag. And I'm going to say the thumbnail URL and answer for the response text. And I think it will automatically be able to map it. But just to be sure, I'm just going to be very explicit about this. Okay, so now we're going to preview this and let's give this a roll. So tell me about the greatest hacks in Codex CLI. Just to switch things up a bit so that it looks into another series, which I've done, which is about Codex. And so you can see over here, it does its reasoning. All right, so you can see as it steps through, it has a very nice interface showing you where exactly it's looking at. And then it's determined that this is the answer. The next thing that it's going to do right after it's gotten this answer is that it's going to then pass it into the guardrails that you see over here, just to make sure that it's not hallucinating about anything in its response. I don't think it is, because everything here, as you can see, is very accurate because it's actually what my video covered. Turn on web search, turn on high reasoning, and then understand how to use sandbox and approvals. This is really amazing, right? Because this is pretty much allow you to create a high quality RAG agent just off the bat. Okay, as you can see over here, this is where the save agent is now outputting its answer in JSON format, if you recall. And because it's putting it out in JSON format, we were then able to reference it in this final response agent properly. And you can see over here, it's able to extract out the thumbnail URL from over here. And then it's going to get through its response. And now we're just going to wait. And you can see, there you go. Here are the greatest Codex CLI hacks from AI-oriented Codex CLI setup video. Distilled into quick wins you can apply immediately. You can see these are all of the responses that we get from here, but we also now have the video thumbnail embedded within the response as well. This is great because you can create custom UI, and Widget Builder is capable of a lot of really nice looking widgets that allow you to have things like buttons and really, really nice looking visual interfaces. So, you know, the sky's the limit here. Now, one final thing is that how do I then get this widget into my Next.js application that we saw over here? Well, here's the great thing about it. All you need to do is just click on publish and then publish a new version. And once this is published, you just need to refresh your application, which I think it did automatically. And let's just give this a shot. So I'll be saying, tell me about the Codex ecosystem and its core components. So like I said, switching things up a little bit right now about Codex. And so this is going to fire off. All right, and you can see it's thinking away and reasoning about the response. Okay, and it's kicked off the thinking and reasoning step. And here's the quick overview. All right, and you can see here's the response that's coming out from the agent. Okay, so it's showcasing you the response that it had from internally by showing you the structured response. And here you go. So now within your Next.js application, with a click of a button, it was able to actually also get hold of that custom widget that you just built. And it just works seamlessly. You didn't have to do anything else other than refresh your page after you've deployed this. All right, so that's how you make use of Agent Builder. And this is just scratching the surface of what it's capable of doing. But I just wanted to showcase to you not so much what its full functionality is, but to really highlight to you about why you should not just hear what people are saying, because they're always going to give you the extreme ends of what it's capable of. The most important thing is about how it can be practically applied to your day-to-day life. In fact, I'm going to go and try to see if I can deploy this agent so that you can play around with it, because this might be actually something that will be very useful to make available to folks like you watching this video and would like to learn more about all of the other videos that I have. So if you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to give it a like, hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to turn on notifications so that you'll always be the first to know whenever new content like this drops. And if this is the first time to this channel, you might want to check out this recent video that I did about Anthropic's Claude Sonnet 4.5 release. I cover a practical way of how you can build an end-to-end application, including the integration with Supabase as part of it as well. So if you're interested, definitely check it out. Well, that's it for today's video. I'll see you soon.